And how are we getting on? What's the story, lads?
What's going on, man?
Good to see you again.
We're just having another great night here over in the DTC Center in Denver, man. Just getting it. We're excited to be talking to you guys again. We had such a great time having you on the show a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it was fun, man. We've been talking about it a lot since we had that experience. Cool to be, sitting down with you guys again on your platform now. I'm curious to see what kind of heat you're going to bring our way. It's kind of fun. We can just kick back and just have a chat.
It's always good fun to talk to you guys. But for anyone who may not know you guys, how about you just introduce yourselves?
Oh, of course, yeah. So we are Discussion Combustion Podcast, hosted by my co-host Kevin and myself, Arthur. And we've been doing this for a little bit over 2 years. We've had a lot of we have phases, so we've kind of been climbing through our phase chart and just growing as a podcast. And great friends. We've known each other for over 10 years, probably closer to 12 actually.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit too long, honestly. I've known this guy, but we decided to start a podcast, and it was probably one of the best decisions we ever made. It gives us something to look forward to every week. I'm sure you guys can relate to that. We have great listeners, great guests, just great interactions. I mean, it creates for a fun environment. And that's where I fell in love with podcasting 5-6 years ago, but I never thought I was going to end up hosting one. So yeah. I just feel great and fortunate to be here.
Yeah.
For sure.
We've had some mutual guests, so it's kind of cool. Not a lot of people can have that kind of conversation. But I mean, what got you into it? What made you want to start a podcast with each other? Like,
yeah. So honestly, Kevin was putting the bug in my ear about starting a podcast, and we had both always wanted to do some type of entertainment, reach the public with a positive message, and that's always been a calling to both of us. So Kevin put the bug in my ear, and it was for at least a couple months, like, hey, let's just record our conversations, because we always have such great conversations. And then we finally got together, came up with the name, recorded episode 1 on a cell phone.
Yep. Episode 1 was on a cell phone.
And yeah, man, it's
horrible.
It's been a lot of growth since then.
It's been a great journey. No, it really has. I mean, Art touched on it there. Just great friends. Like I said, I was really starting to get into podcasts. I thought, man, this would be fun to just take a stab at it and have a good time with it, and keep it at that. Just enjoy it, having conversations, educating ourselves on topics maybe we're not familiar with. And then from there, we got really fortunate with our old host, Jamie. He's been on our show many times. He gave us studio space in his house for the cost of a bottle of whiskey. That was a game changer
at the time. Yeah.
Our rent was a bottle of whiskey. Yeah. So that gave us a place to build a legitimate studio. And that was a huge, huge part of the growth of Discussion Combustion was our old host, Jamie. And then we entered phase 3, moving up here to
I think that's nice to give kudos to Jamie.
Oh,
he deserves kudos for sure. And, just real quick, like what we did in the beginning too is pretty early on, like episode 13 or whatever. We really started to decide, like, what is it about? What's the podcast about, opposed to just hanging out and drinking beers? Like, what are we actually trying to accomplish here? So our mission statement is to include anybody and everybody from all walks of life and be critical, accepting, and loving. So we try to do that every single week with everybody we talk to. We're open ears, and we want to just get to know you and get to know what you do.
Yeah. And from there, it's just run on. You mentioned that, we've had some mutual guests, which has been great. I think that's also kind of contributed to how we met you guys, was just starting to see your name popping up on YouTube or on social media and stuff. And I think that's my favorite part about this podcasting experience, is meeting great people that we would have never had the chance to meet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing bit of it. Kind of making friends with people. Like, alternatively, if you didn't do a podcast, you never would have met.
Yeah, you bet.
You guys said you started off as a trio?
Well, I mean, we've always kind of had some friends and other contributing sources in the background. I mean, it's always been Arthur and I in front of the mics and the cameras, hosting the show, but there has been a lot of people that have helped us get to where we're at. You know, producer, host roles, stuff like that. So there has been contributing factors. It definitely took that family group.
Yeah,
effort.
People who help with, like, website design and
sure,
just it takes a village to raise it. And Discussion Combustion is not about Kevin and I. It's about having a place, a platform for people to feel heard. Like, we had Dr. Maria Michael on. That was a great episode, and she talked about the struggles of Native Americans in America, and that is often skipped over by the media. So, and there's been so many other great ones too, but that one really struck a chord with me, and and it was something that felt right to do. And so it's not about Kevin and I, it's about creating that platform for anybody.
Yeah, just kind of being the vessels of it, just like you guys do. I mean, you guys are the vessels for a lot of people to get their words out and to interact with people. I mean, that's kind of the fun part about it.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of very diverse guests on. Like we range from, even this week alone, we've had a voice actor on. We had then an MMA journalist on, and most recently we've had Melissa Bernstein, who's a self-made millionaire who's after coming out with her own book about how she struggled in life with existential depression and anxiety. So
Yeah.
we range.
Yeah, much like yourselves, lads. I think that's one thing we definitely have in common. We kind of hit everything, including
Yeah,
other
I think
podcasts.
yeah, and that's a great way to do it, right? I mean, because we're not putting ourselves in a box, so to speak. You guys are really good at literally covering all topics. You guys do some fight stuff. You do some live videos. You interact with
Yeah, for
podcasts.
sure.
I mean, that's kind of the name of the game. You're not restricting the content, and I think that's a lot of fun. And I respect your guys' hustle.
Yeah, I mean, let me reiterate how much we respect the hustle, because like you guys, and I said this on our show, I want to say it on yours too, but you guys haven't been around as long as DCPC, but you're crushing the episodes. You have more than double the episodes. You're constantly online working, doing live streams. Like it takes dedication, And so, what do you guys think? Like, is the best advice? Because there's so many people who want to jump into podcasting. What do you think is the best advice for a newbie, like somebody who wants to get started?
I was going to ask you guys actually. Do you think it's too late to start podcasting? Because I've
It's a good
heard some
question.
big names say like, fucking Mott go by me, and a lot of big names saying like, if you just want to have a podcast that isn't a niche, you're probably too late. If you want to sit down and talk to your buddies, it might be a bit too late. Um, unless you put in like ridiculous amounts of work or you're famous. What do you think about that?
I think that's a good question, Jared. Honestly, I do, because I think we saw that a little bit when we started this show. I remember telling Arthur, I was like, man, this train is leaving. This plane's taking off. And if we don't jump on it now, I think we might miss it. But even with that mentality, it still takes, just like you guys do, I mean, consistent dedication to it, consistent quality content. That's really what it takes to make it. But is it too late? I don't know. Niche specific, I think that's a good point to bring up, because a lot of people are into the true crime or they're into comedy or whatever it is. But our style of shows, it's becoming very difficult to separate yourselves from what's going
Well, yeah,
on.
I mean, especially if you're just like a Joe Schmo, like we just do our normal jobs. You really have to go into it with these, because it depends what you would say is making it. Like what is making it? So is it having fun every single week and doing something that you enjoy doing, and you keep showing up for that? It all depends what your expectations are, because you could have a lot of fun with podcasting for sure. I mean, I've had a blast. I don't ever think it's going to be too late for people to create and bring out a product that people are interested in listening to. Maybe they're trying to steer it away because they're afraid people are going to start, getting some of the cream. Maybe that's why that news is out there.
Well, I mean, when you look at it, compared to the music business, right? Everybody was always struggling to be a musician, singer, stand out, and literally everybody has a podcast now, or everybody wants to jump on that. So I think it does. It has to do with individual goals.
And
If you're
there's
doing
so many, though. There's just
so
an
many.
influx.
There's so many.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not enough hours in our lifetime to keep up with all the content that's been produced. But I think you bring up a good point, Art. If you're having fun doing it, then that's the main goal. If the goal is to be successful doing it, I think that's where it becomes difficult because of the level of competition.
Yeah. You got to be ready for the long grind
Yeah.
if you want to make some money.
It would definitely throw someone who wants us to get into podcasting, throw them off a little bit if you go onto Twitter and look up podcasts, because there's just an influx of even something, if it's something like true crime, whereas like there's so much competition in that topic alone. Like if you want to look up a true crime podcast on one subject, there's around about 100 podcasts covering the same murder, and they probably watch each other's podcasts to like
and get ideas. Yeah. I could see that.
We actually took a dive into that recently with Steve Cantwell on, and he turned in a serial killer. And that video kind of blew up a little bit for us. And some of the stories we get here, I know you have the same thing they're mental. Like we both had chats with John Rinke, for example, and some of the stuff that he's told us, and I've seen your episode with him, stuff he told you's crazy. And
Yeah.
you know, if you didn't talk to him, you would never know, because you're probably not going to look up one of the podcasts he did. You might just kind of scroll across it, but
That's a good point.
it's
Yeah, that
some
is a good
crazy
point.
stuff, man.
Yeah, a lot of crazy stuff. Stones get unturned. You get a guest on that maybe has done X amount of shows. I've always said I think one of the reasons I really like podcasts, and I don't know if you lads agree with this or not, but like the mainstream kind of talk shows, especially here in the States, seem a little bit scripted, kind of fake. And I think that's really where I caught an eye for podcasts. It's just cool to see the real side of people.
Yeah.
See them drinking beer, see them talking about stuff that matters to them, and eliminating some of that pre-scripted fake kind of stuff.
Yeah,
That was
Yeah.
the appeal for me.
Mm-hmm.
that's why it works. But
Yeah.
just what you're saying there, Thomas, with regards to Twitter podcasts, like it does kind of look like the days of starting a new one might be gone. Like, because we've seen people who've said they've been podcasting for 5 years and they only finally hit 1,000 downloads, or they've been doing it for a year, they get 1,000 downloads. If you're doing it a year, you don't have 1,000 downloads, man. That must be rough.
Yeah.
Like there is a marketing part to it. Like, we couldn't just post this video, no thumbnail, no tags, no nothing, never
Yeah, for
advertise
sure.
it would just flop. Maybe like a 4 views because someone was up at 3 o'clock in the morning in Belarus and scroll and pressed it, like, you know.
It's so true. No, you're absolutely right, man. And that's exactly what it takes. But that's a big commitment too to the business. I mean, and maybe some of these guys that aren't hitting those 1,000 downloads aren't putting in that work. They're just putting it out there and hoping that something's going to happen. And I think the later we get, 2019, 2020, 2021 with podcasting, it takes that consistent effort.
Yeah.
The work that you guys put in. I mean, we were looking at your channel earlier. It's like, man, these guys you're constantly putting up content, and that's what it takes. I mean, we could get better at doing that ourselves. I mean, it's
For
just,
sure.
there's always something you can do,
Mhm.
The way it happened for us, I was on Reddit and I was like, I'm sick of advertising all the time. So I was like, I was in this one called like NewTubers or whatever. So it's new YouTubers to give each other advice. And I said, okay, here's the channel. We've been at it for a year. We've done bits with it. What do you recommend? And the first thing I got was, your thumbnails are shit. And I just went and overhauled the whole thing, and straight away results are just, we've nearly tripled the amount of views we get in a day. Which
Yeah, I mean, first impression, right? Because that truly is the first impression that people get, is that image. And I mean, it's been a learning curve for us too. Like, originally we just took pictures with the person that was with us that week when we were audio only, and then from there, when we first went video, then we would take just pictures of that video, and then recently got the software where you could single out and then put backgrounds and try to just keep constant growth.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because that's also an area that helped us to grow as well, was that thumbnail, that kind of presentation delivery, because when you're scrolling through, Spotify or YouTube, whatever people are tuning in on, it's easy to just say, this isn't catching my eye. It's that grab of attention. Some people call it clickbait or whatever.
Mhm.
You're trying to grab the attention of the show and the experiences that happen. And I see you guys, you do really well with that. And we're still kind of in a learning curve on that. I mean, every week we learn something new on what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
that's literally it. Like, you have to make 1,000 mistakes. Like, you have to put in your 10,000 hours. I think I said that when I was in yours. And that's literally it, lads. But I think, the longer you wait to start it, the less likely you are to succeed with it. Because everyone nowadays makes content. People's grandmothers make content. People's grandmothers have OnlyFans.
So
Everyone's making content.
and I bet you that they sell, because people want to just check it out. Even if you're not into that, you might just want to check it out one time,
First
You
of all,
already
I
up
don't
to
think
something?
nobody wants to see me on OnlyFans. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I don't plan on ever joining that, but for the people that do, good for them.
That is funny.
Jared apparently just recently found mine, and I was unaware. I was unaware of its existence. But like,
Yeah.
good for him.
You're all wearing the Shrek outfit in that.
So you seen it too? Yeah. Yeah. No, we were just doing a live stream earlier, and I just someone said something about OnlyFans. It's like, oh yeah, I seen Thomas's the other day.
So
So some of the shit you end up saying online when you're recording, sometimes you just kind of forget you're recording.
Oh,
Yeah.
it happens all the time. Those are some of the best moments though too,
Yeah.
because that's when like the real shit starts to happen.
Mm-hmm. But kind of going back to what we were talking about, like yeah, people's grandmas are coming up with their own podcasts. Like everybody's got one nowadays. But one thing that Kevin and I decided was that we need to follow the CQC, and that's to be consistent, have like consistent as in showing up every week, getting it done every single week, uploading every single week. It's consistent, good quality. So invest in the good equipment. It costs more, but it's going to have that quality. So get the equipment and then get the content. Having Awfully Irish on, having John Rinke on, having whoever comes on, making sure that content is good too, so people are feeling full and like they did enjoy a conversation with the friends.
Yeah, that was the blueprint. That's what we set out. So if we can stick to these three things, let's see what happens. And that's probably been our most successful trajectory outside of the added SEO work and a lot of the stuff that I'm sure you guys can relate to as well.
Yeah.
Don't even start on SEO, man.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, I've been going ham on that.
We have two.
We got Resident Evil, that game that came out. We had
Yes.
someone on from that, and I spent probably the guts of 2 hours changing descriptions, changing the thumbnail, changing the tags to try just for a chance to have it ranked somewhere in like Resident Evil, just that word. And in the end, I settled for like Resident Evil main villain, Resident Evil blah blah blah. But it could be hard. It can be seriously hard. No matter how niche you think your video might be, there's probably some more that are like it.
Oh yeah, I mean, one of the, because I used to do music heavily. I still have a huge music passion. I like to freestyle and rap, like that's really my thing. But about all that, like it's, you gotta stick to the passion, and you have to like have a reason, a drive to do it, and keep showing up. And one thing that you have to know is that everything's been done before. Like it's all been done. Every noise has been made. Every discussion has been had. Like, so if you go into it like that, like, hey, like this might not be original content, but I'm going to make it unique at least. That's one mindset as a creator that I think it's kind of wise to think about that sort of things. Like we're not doing anything that hasn't been done before. We're just doing it our own way.
I like that.
That's it. That's it.
I really like that. The spin on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's certainly a weird one. But do you guys think like if you started the podcast today, that you would have had like the same kind of success? Yeah, like I guess my question is, if you started today and gave the same amount of time you've had so far, do you think you would have been equally as successful, or because you started earlier you had an advantage?
I think that's a good question, man. It's something I really haven't thought about till right now. I think that the time when we did start in 2019, it did feel kind of like, let's get this rolling. Time is of the essence. So, I mean, to answer that honestly, I think that we might have missed the mark had we have just started. I feel like we would have missed some of the algorithms, missed some of the momentum, missed some of the guest opportunities that were presented just from the timeline.
Yeah.
So I do think that starting it now, we wouldn't have had the success that we did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And like, as unfortunate as it was, the pandemic was. If you were a content creator, man, that was one of the best times to be around.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Our guest next week, Denver's Best Podcast, John of All Trades. He flat out came out and said, "Man, this has been the best opportunity for me as a podcaster. We can't wait to have him in studio next week to kind of elaborate on some of that." But he said, "Man, everybody's available now. Everybody can Zoom. You have access to everybody."
Yeah.
That's starting to change now. We've had to actually deal with people who are working again. Imagine that, actors back working. Yeah.
Rude.
Yeah.
Very, very rude. Imagine not being around to do our podcast for an entire hour.
I know. What the heck's going on here, guys? Come on. Well, you're not available now?
I know,
Do you know
it has
who I
been
am?
great.
Yeah.
No, it's I was gonna get clipped by someone. Yeah. But no, like it's cool that there's stuff going on again, because like with the style of stuff we do, it is like a lot of interview based stuff. If everyone was doing nothing, you run out of things to discuss. Like we after Black Ops Cold War came out, we were kind of stuck because no other games were being made. There's no major voice acting gigs being done. But then out of nowhere, Resident Evil came out. We were able to grab a bunch of people.
Yeah, I mean, you guys rope in some high caliber I swear it. Like
It's-
Kevin's always hollering at me. He's like, "Did you see?
Oh yeah.
Did you see who they just had on?"
Yeah, I mean, it's no joke, man. We're big fans of you guys for sure, and it's true. Like, I don't know if I asked you this on our show, but I'm gonna ask you on your show. What's some of your methods and approaches to getting some of these high caliber guests on your program? You know, because a lot of ours is just throwing stuff on the wall and seeing what sticks, just trying things. But you guys are really good about landing consistent high caliber guests, and that takes a
Do you want
talent.
the secret, ads? You want the secret? You want the sauce?
I mean, if you really need if it's super trade secret, we could save it for post show. But I think everybody would like to hear this.
Yeah. In fairness,
You have to sell your soul. You have to have zero morals about you, man. Zero principles. You would do whatever it takes. You don't accept no as an answer. You email. You
they say no and you start calling them. Answer the phone. Johnny Knoxville, come on.
You start hounding them.
You just, man, we have a very simple philosophy, and people ask us this a lot, actually. And man, it's literally just you ask, and if they say no, okay, and if they say
Moving
yeah,
on, yeah.
cool.
You move on. Yeah.
I say we email the same 30 people every month. You know, there's actually like a certain amount of people we want on the podcast, and they just never respond. But do you know what, man? Someday they'll be looking through their emails and they'll see it. You know. It
Chael
happens
Sonnen, if you're seeing this,
How's it going, Chael?
please.
Get on our podcast, will you?
I know you're a big fan. I want to connect. No.
Yeah.
So it's a mixture of IMDb Pro as of recent, just to be able to get in contact with actors and their agents. But during the pandemic, Instagram was the go-to because everyone was on their fucking phone. But now they're working again. You need to go to the representatives. That's what we're doing at the moment. So we use, if we can't find a representative, it goes to Instagram. And if it's not Instagram, we hope we have someone who knows them. That was how we got Mardelis Reyes. You know, he played Menendez in Black Ops 2, main villain. We had a friend, James Burns, who had him on the show, who worked with him in Black Ops 2, and was able to land it for us. And then we have other people who are way bigger than us, who without that contact couldn't access him.
Yeah.
So go figure, like the entire entertainment business, it's who you know. And people may not like that, but it's not going to be handed to you. You're not going to be handed Robert Downey Jr. on a silver platter. You gotta know.
So what we do is you know, DCPC awfully Irish. You know, what we do is we start that revolving door. You know, let's start spinning it. Let's throw some people some ways.
That's
the
it,
old
man.
switcheroo, man. I like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
I had something like that recently. There was a guy and he had some characters on from an old cartoon, but he found one of our videos and we had an old cartoon character on, and he was like, "You guys want to do a swap?" So
Nice.
you know,
I mean, some of the best people I mean, everybody that we've talked to has been amazing, but man, what great referrals we've received. And, you know, you know, coming from Denver, Colorado, like I've lived here my whole life, and then being able to have this opportunity to talk to boys like you across, you know, 7 hours difference, like it's a bit humbling, you know, and it's just so awesome, all the connections that we make. And yeah, some of the best people that we spoke to are people that were referred to us. And, you know, once we start building that community, so yeah, we're gonna throw you guys a couple. We're gonna do some brainstorming. We probably got some in the bag already.
Well, and that's
when we're finished
go ahead.
this, lads, we'll give it a go. I have a bunch of paper ready to start writing down.
Oh yeah,
So-
and that's what it's about, man. Like we were saying earlier, you know, connecting with you guys, I think was really exciting for us. You know, it was cool to see you start popping up on YouTube, and I just love the fact that two shows can kind of come together, collaborate. Because I mean, we both interviewed, like we said, a lot of different guests and stuff like that. But I think you guys are the first podcast that we've interacted with that haven't been somewhat in studio. We've never done, you know, the Zoom invites and stuff with another podcast. So that you know, the technology that we have at our fingertips and the availability of that does speak volume to how cool it is. And I would agree with what you were saying about Instagram being during the pandemic. That's how we landed some of our, you know, what do you want to call them? High caliber guests. You know, everybody, everybody's a person at the end of the day, but IG was a great opportunity. And to piggyback off what you were saying with now reaching out to their agents, we're kind of in that same boat now because people are working again.
Mhm.
So it's a revolving door. It's a constant innovation. You got to adapt with what's going on, and you got to stay after it. Like you guys said, sending 30 emails a week, whatever it takes.
Yeah, you get more
a
no's.
day.
A day, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
more
what- that's
more
what it's gonna
no's than
take.
yeses. That's the true answer to the question is how is Awfully Irish landing these people? They grind harder. They send more invites than anybody else does,
That's it.
and so they get more responses. You guys are playing the numbers game.
That's
You
the
know,
thing.
even like the referrals, like people telling you to get on the podcast, that doesn't even work for us as well. There's one man who we've had around 6 or 7 people tell him to get on our podcast, but for the love of God, Badlands Jugs, please. We are friend with several competitive eaters. For the love of God, man.
Our friends are your friends, man. Come on.
Come on, man. Nick, Mickey, Michelle, they've all told you to get on the podcast. You're not watching this. Why am I talking to you? Get on the podcast.
We'll talk when you're here. But yeah, that guy Badlands Jugs, he's you probably know who he is. He's a competitive eater, but he's known for chugging like drinks or whatever. There's many memes been made out of him as a result.
That sounds like a rough gig, honestly. To do that as your gig, like
Would you rather be a builder or drink stuff?
like a builder, as in like.
Like would you
Construction
like
worker.
back-breaking work or drink stuff?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I've done a lot of labor in my life, and I kind of enjoy swinging a hammer, but it is very laborious and hard on your joints, and you got to get low all the time. So for long-term health, of course, I would rather drink stuff.
Yeah.
Good lad yourself.
But I do like swinging hammers, though. That's fun.
Drinking and eating. We were trying to get a competitive eater on here too. One of our business guys, he recommended, I think his name is Matt Stoney.
Yes.
He does a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
competitive eating
Yeah, we know
challenges. So
him.
we're
Yeah, we know, man.
oh, okay. Yeah, we're trying to get him on the show. So
Wait,
that'd
you
be
guys know
cool.
him? Hook us up with that.
Well, I say we know.
refer a
we don't.
friend.
We've
Know of him.
This is another like get on the Awfully Irish podcast kind of thing, you know, like
We're friends with his friends.
like
Okay.
Recommend stuff.
like I said, like Mickey Sudo, she's like the #1 female competitive eater in the world, and then she's engaged to Nick Weary, who's like ranked #6, like of all the competitive eaters, and then we had Michelle Lesko
Good
on, and
lads.
she has Guinness World Records in like
Mm.
the fastest person to eat like what was it
Mayo.
doing like
Male ice cream.
like eight jars of mayonnaise. So and like
What was
she-
it like?
Why?
It was almost. Well,
Oh,
was it in a minute or 2 minutes?
Let me look up the record here real quick on my phone.
yeah.
But
Eight-
she's yeah,
8 jars of mayonnaise.
Ew.
I'll actually
Yeah.
tell you how much it is now.
Almost
Michelle
breaking my
Lesko.
record, but it wasn't official. So
I hope you had a good shower record after that, because I'll be like laying in
Oh.
bed. I'll have to
Okay.
wash my sheets the
be
next day.
sweating
All right,
mayonnaise.
lads,
yeah.
lads, you're good.
Yeah.
You actually might throw up here. Okay, Michelle Carbode Shell. How you getting on, Michelle? Love you. But she holds the Guinness World Record for the most mayonnaise eaten in 3 minutes, and she ate 86.25 ounces. So it's around 3.5 jars, but it's still it's still a lot in 3 minutes. You
That's
know,
a lot of mayo, man.
It's too much mayo. I mean, do you have to hold it down?
yes,
That's got to be part of
I'm
the
pretty
challenge.
sure
I mean,
you
Yeah,
do.
but she did this as well, same day as doing like the ice cream when it's on.
Yeah, she had like the fastest person to eat a bowl of ice cream or something as well. She's mad. Or no, it wasn't ice cream. It was hot dog, wasn't it? She's the fast. She's the record for eating a hot
Yeah.
dog the
Oh,
fastest.
it's Miki has the ice cream one.
Yeah.
for-
Mickey has
she had-
ice cream.
It was like a really warm, sunny day, but she had to be wrapped in blankets because her core temperature dropped so low from eating all this
Wow.
ice cream. Like,
I mean, how do you
intense.
work through the brain freeze?
yeah, that's
You
way.
know, how do you work through that?
That's a whole nother
She
level
told
of
us.
commitment.
like she wouldn't let it touch the roof of her mouth, so she was basically drinking it at that point.
Hmm.
I don't know if I could do it. I don't know
No.
if I could
It's
do
a
it.
rough gig, man.
Yeah.
Because even if you look at them, most of them, like you guys said, you're having Matt Stoney. Matt Stoney's tiny. Like none of them really look like Mickey and Michelle are. They're smaller than me and Jared, like smaller than you guys. And well, then there's Nick. And Nick's one of those
210 pounds, 4% body fat, maybe 2. And He's
jacked.
fucking jacked.
He's
Really?
Yeah, and he's a competitive eater.
jacked.
But the thing is, and I think this is legit, the day after you see one of his pictures from competitive eating, you can see that he's put something on. But then, like, it'll be gone the next gym picture or something.
He works
Yeah.
it off.
Yeah.
I don't know. I remember watching. Did you guys ever watch that Man vs. Food with Adam Richman? It was maybe 10 years
Yeah.
ago. That was
I've seen
a show.
some of those.
Yeah.
that's kind of where I first started observing. I mean, competitive eating's always been a thing, hot dog eating competition and all that kind of stuff. I just don't know if I could do it. I think the only competition I'd feel comfortable maybe trying is like maybe a beer drinking competition, but even that, I feel like I'd get defeated.
Oh yeah, it would not feel comfortable.
I don't think so, man.
Yeah.
That's a rough one. That's a rough one. That's
Well, I mean, because
from SEO to this, how did we get here?
I mean, you're
We
drinking a
never know.
beer super fast, you're chug-a-lugging, and then all of a sudden you got to belch, you got to burp, you got to keep chugging. That sounds difficult to me. It sounds like a lot of things are happening at once that I can't necessarily control.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sounds rough, lads. I'll tell you that one.
I think Kevin's trying to go mid-grade right now, not chugging every second, but
I'm just enjoying being on the Awfully Irish podcast.
I know. Come on, man. We're technically hitting Ireland right now on our journey. You know, this
Fair play,
is fun.
I had a question for you there. What was it? Oh yeah. Since we're talking about guests, who's your dream guest?
Oh, a dream guest would be I would personally like to talk to a major motivational speaker, you know, and I might just steal because I know of Jocko Willing. Kevin introduced me to Jocko. It'd be really cool to have him on, and just because I like the self build, I like the self help, I like the positive affirmation. You know, the stay hungry, be a lion, you know, be the hungriest. You know, the elephants are bigger, the rhinos are bigger. Why is the lion the king? Because it's the hungriest. You know, I like that kind of mentality and to stay strong like that. And I feel like that'd be a fun guest to have, somebody that helps motivate.
Jocko would be great. I can't argue that. Dream guest, that's a tough question, guys.
Yeah.
Because there's just so many good ones out there. Jocko, that's a good one, though, Art. I would have thought that. I think maybe Dwayne Johnson would be good. The Rock.
I don't know anyone who's ever interviewed the Rock.
I know. He's a tough guy to nail down.
If you
And then
want to
probably
have his agent's number.
let's do it.
I got rejected by The Rock maybe like 2-3 weeks ago. Like,
Can you do the eyebrow?
He'll probably. Oh, can you do the
No.
people's eyebrow?
No, I can't do the eyebrow.
Come on, give it a shot. We can see it right now.
No, I can't, man.
Let's see if I can do it, Art.
All right. Your
The
hat's
hat
in the
on.
way.
You might
No one
have
can.
the hat.
Good hat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
let me
gotta
move the hat.
go.
Let me move the hat.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Kevin
Oh,
could.
yeah. Oh, yeah. You got
Oh
it.
yeah,
I mean, that's
Jared
weak
could
sauce,
do it.
though.
Yeah,
That's
got
way
both.
better than mine. He
He-
blew us all away.
he could do the wave.
You got it?
Do the wave.
Oh, I can't do that.
Oh.
Wave.
And you guys got some talents, man.
That's all.
Uh.
When you sit at a desk all day, lads, it happens.
Yeah. How many of y'all out there got eyebrow game? You know, that's something you got to think about before you get start dating.
I don't even lie. If you're watching this podcast, you definitely fucking tried that at home. Like
You did. You did. You caught. I caught you. Come on. Good lad. Good woman.
Oh, that is great.
Yeah.
So, the boys are the lads, are ladies the ladies?
What do you mean?
Well, like how, because like lads is something I haven't really heard until I started talking to you gentlemen.
I know. I've been using that term a lot now.
And
Lads.
you know
What's your
what do
story
we?
with you lads?
Yeah. What do we call the ladies?
I like that. Yeah. What do you guys call the
The
ladies?
Ladines.
Ladine.
No.
No.
Even though
I would have believed that, Thomas. I would have believed it.
Ladines.
No, you call them the ladies, really. It's the lads and the
Yeah.
ladies.
Lads and the
Okay,
ladies.
okay.
I like it.
yeah.
Okay.
I can't even think of something else that
No,
would be
not really.
respectful. Yeah.
We're just gonna bypass that.
Yeah. Segueing
Ta-
on to
taking the exit on the highway.
Yeah,
I
you know,
like it.
taking a quick
I
exit.
like it. All right, lads. I've got a good one for you now. Genuine.
Let's do it.
And I came up with this one. I want to know what's your guys' like favorite conspiracy theory? Because I have a favorite. I know Jared has a favorite, but we'll start with you first because mine's fucking insane.
He told
I-
it to an actor,
Okay.
and the actor laughed his ass off. Like he was trying to be serious about it, and he just couldn't. He couldn't hold it anymore.
I'm gonna let Kevin go first on this one.
Yeah, you put me on the spot. You know, conspiracy theories are just interesting, I feel like. You know, anytime I even dance around that rabbit hole of a conspiracy theory, it makes me really, I don't know, it gives me a weird feeling. They're interesting and entertained. I think the first time I was introduced to conspiracy theories was 9/11, you know, here in the States. And that 9/11 was a staged, pre-planned, you know, kind of orchestrated by the American government. That was the first time that I remember hearing about conspiracy theories, you know, just being in my age group. And then from there, it just kind of snowballed, you know, was the moon landing real? You know, flat earth. I mean, you name it, there's a bunch. But do I have a favorite? I don't know, because I can't say I believe in any of them. I would say that the one that I spent the most time researching on my own was the 9/11 conspiracy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Cool, man.
You know, I would, I'm going to kind of piggyback off of that a little bit. And, you know, because that, you know, the whole Pentagon thing and like, you know, saying that that's an airplane that hit that. And, you know, that kind of opened the door for me on my level of suspicion of truth. And I feel like it's always safe to have a little suspicion of media and truth and to question things, you know, and maybe dive a little deeper. Obviously, the rabbit hole goes deep, so you don't want to go too deep in that. But, um, you know, I would say the Illuminati, like the people who run the world behind the governments, because that's a conspiracy. You know, isn't it like the Masons? But like I don't know, the Illuminati, if that does exist, I think that's one of the most interesting ones because, you know, then you have this group that's just pulling all the strings. You know, presidents are puppets and everybody is under the influence and doesn't even know. So I'm going to go with the Illuminati.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. It's pretty interesting.
Can I just go back? The Illuminati is a good one in fairness. That just kind of we've all seen like huge videos on it and blah blah blah. But with the 9/11 one, like what aspect like has your interest there?
Well, I mean, there's just a lot of evidence that point, like, you know, money getting moved out of World Trade Center 11, which wasn't one of the tall buildings, you know, like a day or two before. And then also World Trade Center 11 completely crumbling, even though that wasn't even hit by a plane. And then how, like, they slowed down the video, and I swear it looked like demo charges. Like, they point that out as the buildings are falling. You know, it looks like if you watch controlled demolition, it looks like a controlled demolition project where the building falls right where it stands. It didn't topple over, you know, nothing fell off in like an oblong way. There's just a lot of different questions. And then the whole reason, you know, to go into war and fight all these different foreign conflicts. And, you know, there's all these reasons behind why that was such a huge pivotal moment in America and for the world. You know, it's just,
Well, and again, I think it came back to like the convincing, you know, Loose Change, I think was the first documentary I saw of like a conspiracy kind of leaning influential documentary. You know, that to me is why I chose 9/11 because there's so many of them now. I can't say I have a favorite, but because that one stood out the most to me of like taking my time and energy of trying to understand what was going on and watching all this stuff. Not saying I believe any of it, but I found it very interesting. And I think that there is loose change with some of it. You mentioned the Pentagon, you know, there's no footage of it. It just, and that's the rabbit hole part, right? Because then you start to question everything.
yeah.
Yeah, and then you can go off the deep end too far, and you can end up like the likes of Alex Jones. But no, maybe there's something to that. You know, we're from Ireland, so like I never really investigated that. I was just a young lad when that happened. I was how old would I have been? I'd have been two when that happened.
Oh wow,
Wow.
you are young, and man, you look
Yeah.
good though, man.
I wasn't
Got the
born.
haircut that I just didn't even compliment me.
Hey, you know, I was gonna comment on that. I was gonna tell you that your hair is looking good. I like the fresh trim. You know,
See that?
You
That's
guys
for
are
you.
looking
you know
good,
it.
man. We
Hey, now.
now not to get off topic because I do love your guys' questions, but I have to tell you guys when we were doing our promo video of pushing out, you know, the episode of 101 when you guys were on our show and we were cutting the content of you know, showing the crossbow
Yeah.
and then you telling Thomas he was sexy. Well, I don't know if we've ever laughed that hard in the studio doing some promotional work.
Oh, we were dying in here, and because everyone's cracking up super hard in that shit too. That was a fun moment, man.
Man.
Good sense of humor. So, Thomas, what was yours then? Because you
Oh
said
no, we're gonna leave
you
one.
had a
Jared,
nuts one.
Jared, do you want to go first, man? Before I absolutely go
The
off
best
the
for
rails?
last.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trust me, I'm gonna go off the rails. Like
He's just. I already know what it's coming with, but like, I know I kind of believe, but okay, I'm not sure how much I believe it. I think it's an interesting concept if there's anything to it. The idea that you know we might have been tampered with when we were in our like, I guess more primal stages, because we're so fucking different from any other hominid. You know, there was basically nothing else like us, and some of the leaps in technology we made were pretty incredible. So the depictions of gods were pretty, I guess, similar across cultures. So like maybe some kind of alien intervention. I think if there's anything to that, it's kind of cool. But especially with all
Yeah,
like the
I like that
UFO
one.
stuff being, being shown by the U.S. government at the moment. So
Yeah, no, I believe in that. Mesopotamia, the first civilization was the one that has all these questions and all these, what's up with the clay art? What's up with these scriptures? Like why, how all of a sudden did the first civilization have a 12-month calendar? Like before, like people like, yeah, I've kind of dived into some of that stuff. All the conspiracy stuff is a lot of fun,
It is.
you know.
What makes you think? You think a little bit outside the box. I mean, like you're saying, there is a lot of footage and things that are starting to surface. The Navy's coming out saying, "Hey, we got this on there. We're seeing some UFOs." I know Rogan's been having some guys on, and he's been entertaining that as well. I just, what I
I haven't
think's funny
watched
about it,
him
guys.
since we talked.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not doing it for me anymore.
Yeah, I can understand why. I think that his audience is a lot of his audience is feeling that same way. I try to keep tabs on what he's doing. There's been some interesting guests on there, but I always find it interesting with these UFO clips that are coming out now that the U.S. government is releasing some of their footage. It's always so grainy. The
Mhm.
footage just isn't that good. And I think that's where a lot of people
I
comment
think
on.
I saw like an explanation on why that is,
Why is that?
and it's because you're dealing with air density, and there's molecules in the air, and so if it's a far away object and you're in a flying plane and that's moving, and then you also have another moving object, like it's a lot to do well, and I think that they released it recently, but it was from like 2014 was when that footage was from, or
Oh,
something like
okay.
that.
Well, I didn't know that. That clears that up.
I think I'm not the expert here, but
Shit. Weird.
Yeah, it's
All
it's.
right.
I'd like there to be some kind of truth to it. Nothing too scary, nothing too serious, but you know yourself.
All
All
right.
right, go on, go
You
mental.
guys,
all right,
Thomas is
blow
about
our
to.
minds,
Thomas is about
Thomas.
to
you
blow
guys
our
ready to
minds.
get mind fucked? Okay, okay. So, as we all know, we had the pandemic last year. Really tragic stuff. Bad time for a lot of people. Got me thinking though.
I see where this is going.
I was thinking, you have no idea where this is going.
Okay, I have an idea. I'll be honest if I don't or do it by the time you're finished.
So I was wondering, man, like, it made me think because wasn't there like a pandemic back in the 1920s as well? And then it made me
Yes.
think that there was also another pandemic in the 1820s and the 1720s. So we're seeing a pattern every 100 years. There's a pandemic, and I thought, huh, that's weird. Then I noticed something else. How close have you guys gotten to a bird? No, 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 no. Okay, no, allow me, please. Every 100 years,
Okay.
they've got to change the batteries in the birds.
Oh, okay.
Stay with me here, because you're
I'm with
thinking
you.
batteries in the birds.
The
Thomas,
birds aren't real? That conspiracy?
are you thinking, Thomas, wouldn't the batteries just die, Oh, isn't that weird that birds emigrate every year to some other part of the world? Maybe to recharge. I don't know. But here, man, I'm just letting it all loose. You ever see that clip of the bird and Putin?
What, where it's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
Because it respects authority, because it knows. It fucking knows, man. Trust me. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. Thomas, you're out of your mind. You're fucking crazy. Am I, though? I mean, how close have... Isn't it weird that birds fly off as soon as you get close to them? Because they don't want you to see anything up close, man. I mean, I'm just a messenger. Don't shoot me. Who you want to kill? No. Listen, I don't know. I don't know if I believe it. I definitely do. you know, I don't know, man.
The birds aren't real?
No,
So
man.
I've heard of I've heard of this one.
I'm
So
not familiar with this one,
so
I'm
so
getting brought up to
people
speed here.
so people have this idea that all the birds are surveillance drones,
Okay.
technically.
Maybe I
and,
have heard that.
and that birds aren't real.
Um,
Prove me wrong.
that-
do you ever see cave paintings of birds? Next question. Yeah. Oh my god.
That's
Man,
funny.
that is going down deep inside the rabbit hole, isn't it?
I mean, but what about like the whole dinosaur thing and all that? You know, do
Yeah.
you guys think?
Have you read in Flat Earth? They're not.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dinosaurs
sorry,
aren't real.
whalebone thing. What do you think
Yeah,
about?
Oh, yeah,
whalebone in the mountains.
What proof of dinosaurs do you have? Except, the bodies they find in the ground. Do you know what that is, my friend? I'm really gonna get in the rabbit hole here. It's a test, by God.
Anyway. Yeah.
Prove it. He's testing us to see if we still believe in him. Because we find this stuff, we go, oh my God, maybe he wasn't real. Nah. That's what they want you to think. My
What do you
friend.
like, Thomas?
But-
He said this to David Payton from One Division, and he lost his shit. He was laughing his ass off.
Yeah, he said he'd tell Chris Hemsworth about me, so I'm pretty happy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hey, put it out there. There's a lot of people doing it. Conspiracy. I mean, it's a big thing. People are making YouTube channels just off that, spewing conspiracy.
That's true.
It's amazing.
That's true.
It's just
Yeah.
amazing.
But don't make it your living because you'll get demonetized fairly fast.
Yes, you will.
Yeah. No. That was just so funny, Thomas, when he said the first time, like, yeah, why do you think there's a pandemic every 100 years? Because they gotta change the batteries in the birds.
That's pretty
Very
funny.
good.
That is pretty good. That is pretty
He was
good.
pretty excited for that one. That was good, man. Got
So
me thinking.
so what about the whole COVID-19 conspiracy?
The Chinese lab thing.
No,
you-
but you know what I'm saying? Like what if like COVID-19 was never a thing? Like, because that's a conspiracy too, where it's like everything gets shut down and then all of a sudden people lose their rights willingly, and so governments gain control, and like there's this whole conspiracy about COVID-19. So that's an interesting one too.
Yeah. I think
I mean,
if you know anyone who's like in biology, you'll have it
Yeah.
figured. But
yeah, and I'm not advocating for that by any means, but since
No,
we're
of
talking
course.
interesting ones,
Mm.
that one's fun to kind of talk about, and like why did they create it, or what's really happening while everything is shut down? Like,
I like the thing like why was it created, because there's a lot of different theories and I would actually start like everybody knows the whole like bat story, but I don't know how true that is.
There
Jared,
was a
didn't you
guy-
tell me? Yeah, I was
yeah.
about to ask about the
there's
guy.
a
on
guy
Rogan.
from the WHO who said, like, bats aren't native to that area. Wuhan isn't like this place that has wet markets. It's a city. He said it was like the Chicago
yeah,
of China. So, to an outsider that would make sense. But, it's supposed to be a city. There was a lab there that's had breaches before. They never disproved that it didn't come from the lab. They were just told not to investigate it any further. And he was from the WHO, so it's not
I
really a
think I listened to that
conspiracy
same
if,
thing.
if it's directly reported from him. I forget his name. He had an episode in the Joe Rogan Experience.
Yep.
yeah.
I watched that
Kevin
one.
showed me that. Yeah, he
I
sent
watched
it
that
over.
one. Yeah,
But
and he
it's
did.
interesting because he said, like, I might not be in the WHO anymore for talking about this.
Mhm.
Yeah, I literally. Yeah, and that's exactly what Rogan said. I think he just quoted him. He's like, "Yep, not after this, he won't be." You
Yeah.
know. But I admire people like that. I don't necessarily call them whistleblowers because that term has been thrown around so loosely now. It's like let's give out the truth.
Yes.
It's not a whistleblow if this is what's actually happening. Is my opinion on it.
Yeah, and you come up with this whistleblower statement to try to make it seem like people are doing the wrong thing for exposing corruption. Like, get out of here with your phrases that try to silence my rightful opinion of the truth. That's how I feel about that. Thank you for bringing that up,
Yeah.
Kevin.
Do
Oh,
you,
it's a rough one.
It is.
do you guys know who Professor Dave is?
Dave
like
Farina?
he's like a Dave Farina. He's a big YouTuber. We've had him on the show. He's really fun to talk to. I got to chat with him, and he's talking a lot about like because what he likes to do is kind of like debunk these big like conspiracy theories like
Okay.
QAnon, flat Earth, especially pertain to science. So he like tried to debunk like all
He got
the
famous for the flat earth one.
but like try to
Okay.
debunk like why COVID is real, or like try to debunk all the claims that they were trying to make about it. And he was saying a lot about like fake news, and I'm studying media. We talk a lot about fake news and its prevalence in like society and stuff. But he was saying like with everything like racism and with coronavirus and everything that you could think of, that fake news is probably like the biggest problem that we're facing as a society at the moment, because like
As a
we can't
species,
we
he
can't
says.
even agree if this fucking virus is real, you know? Like there's people online that they think it's completely fake, they think it's a
Yeah.
hoax, you know? So he says unless we actually like find a way to fix that problem, man, it's tough for us to like move on, move
Well,
forward.
when and you can't like at this point, like what we were talking about podcasts coming in the game too late. Like it's almost too late to stop the bot machine, and the algorithm machine that you know sticks on to whatever your search history is and tailors the opinion to you. Like how do you like it's so
It's a little bit far gone at this point too, and especially if someone of influence that has a lot of followers gets behind something like that. I mean, it's just so powerful how quickly the tides can turn for, oh, I believe this now because so and so said this. There was a tweet on that. But the fact checkers in real time now, it's like, everything is scrutinized. Everything's under a microscope constantly. And you start to question the integrity and the realness behind, what am I actually reading? Is this fact check? Is this a true scientific report? Because anybody can make anything look legit now.
yeah, they really can, especially with the deep fakes, like putting people's faces on other people's bodies, and it looks extreme. It looks exactly like the
Oh
person.
yeah, the deep fakes
You
are
can't tell.
dangerous. That's
You can't
that's got
even
to be one
tell.
of the biggest security concerns we could have is deep
Yeah.
fakes.
Yeah. Whole world's gone. It's really gone to shit since the internet came around, man. I mean,
Yes.
it has its advantages, like podcasting.
Like talking to you guys, yeah.
Exactly. I was about to, like meeting people like like you, or like if the
Big-
internet wasn't around,
Big thing with
I wouldn't even
employment
know of
too.
your guys' existence, But like at the same time, we're like destroying ourselves, kind of. What was the thing? I just like saying destroying ourselves. What's the thing Chris told us, Jared? Like how many people could actually like like sustainably live on the earth?
First of all, amazing guy. I recommend having him on. Um, so he's like an environmentalist and he's a permaculturist, and he says that from the research he's done and papers from people he's checked out, that sustainably, like not affecting the climate in a negative way, that the Earth can only sustain 500 million to 1 billion people.
Wow. So we're
Uh,
far past that
we
number.
yeah, we're not even living sustainably. So if you're thinking, oh well, we're just kind of a little bit over that, no, we're way worse. Like this is it. Like if we nuke ourselves and any species ever gets some kind of intelligence later on, there's not enough natural resources, that easy to obtain natural resources left for them to start again. We're it,
Wow.
and we're not doing a good job.
No, I don't think we are at all. And I've always said I think population is the biggest problem. But how do you really micromanage that?
Yeah.
I mean,
Tell people not to have kids
you can't.
anymore.
I
Like you
mean,
think
that's
people are
just
going to stop
People
having
are
kids?
stopping anyway with like the likes of Japan and Germany.
Sure.
Then you've like India and China where the population is booming.
just absolutely out of control. Yeah, and it's you see these reports like during the pandemic, some of the fertility rate and the birth rate was down a little bit, which is interesting because everyone was cooped up at the house. You got to kind of question that. But I think at the same time we're a little bit too far gone too, right? I mean, the damage is already happening. It's been done.
Yeah.
We're well overpopulated.
I was reading a thing, and it was talking about like like Marvel and Thanos snapping and getting rid of like half the population. Do you know how many years it would take for the human race to like repopulate the Earth to its current like? Have a guess there, because
Like
I'm
from
going to
what
guess.
if we're split in half?
if split in half, how many years do you think it would take for us to just
I'm
repopulate back to
I'm
8
gonna
billion?
I'm gonna guess that it's gonna take 15 years.
15
I think
years?
100 years.
100 years?
That was gonna be my guess. Was 100 years. Yep.
15 years.
Oh wait, for
Four.
all of humanity,
Four.
If
or just
4?
for half of us to go?
Four.
Yeah. So if half of the population left, so Thomas, you're saying if it went from 7 billion to 3.5, how long would it take to get back to 7?
4. 4 years.
4 years.
It wouldn't
Yeah,
take
so I was
4
I was
years.
closer
At the
than
current
both
rate-
you
That's
guys.
bullshit.
At the current rate of
100 years.
reproduction, 4.
But at that rate, in 4 years, we'd have 16 billion.
Wow.
But
I mean,
that
it's
doesn't.
not sustainable.
Current
It's not
rate
sustainable.
of reproduction, man. He said 4 years. From the time
You
it
sure you
took
didn't say
them
4
to,
generations?
no, 4 years. From the time it took them from
Well,
Infinity War to Endgame, they would have completely repopulated the
well,
Earth.
so my whole guess was based on my experience because I remember when I was younger in grade school, there was about 4 to 5 billion people on the earth. And I've aged about 2 decades, a little bit less maybe than that since that time. So um and it's more than doubled.
So it's gone up like a billion a
It has
decade.
doubled. Yeah. So yeah, that's where I kind of was thinking.
Yeah, that's interesting how it came to that conclusion that it grows that rapidly. And Jared, you were saying in 16 years that would be, or
In
it would
4 years, that'd
be.
be 16 billion if that was the actual thing. I don't know how legit that is because that
Yeah, I
sounds
mean,
like we're doubling every 4 years.
yeah, that would be just a lot of unprotected sex. I feel
Man,
like.
that's like a summer of love, but make it 4 years.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
It's scary to think about.
it is, man.
I was gonna say something. I'm trying to think of what I was gonna say.
Sustainable living.
No, something actually interesting. No, I can't remember.
You brought it
I
up,
said
jackass.
No, but I do really think about that, and that's one of my biggest concerns in life is like I think about it constantly. I wouldn't say it's one of my biggest concerns because I'm an individual and I could do so much, but how do you contribute to be a better person and have less impact? And if the world is overpopulated, what do you do? And so I know a lot of people want to pass on their seed and carry on their name, but I feel like that's one of the most responsible things a lot of people could do is, you know, be childless, and slow it down. But the problem is, and I hope nobody takes offense to this, but all the people who are coherent enough to have that thought that wouldn't do it, all the people that don't even process that thought and are far gone on the silly decision making scale, they're having kids regardless. They don't even think about that stuff. So it's like
Well, and there's a lot of other factors there too.
then
Art.
you have Idiocracy, like that movie where it's just the world's populated with all the genes of people that didn't have the comprehension to stop having kids. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
There's a joke there
and
somewhere.
there's other factors of playing it, like religion, for example. People that don't believe in contraception
Yeah.
and just think that we just need to keep cranking out children.
Yeah, people are
There's
slowing down, lads. Like over
It's true.
here, we used to be known for having like fucking gigantic families. A big family here is now 3. Back in the day, a small family was 6.
Wow.
That's a good point.
We brought up yesterday when we had Melissa Bernstein on. She was like she had 6 kids, and some were Irish twins, a year apart. And she was saying like that's a pretty big family. Like, people often ask, are they Irish because of the number of kids? But we know people who have 12 siblings. Like,
Wow.
it's getting lower and lower over here now. Like, the majority of couples I know, you might have one kid, 2 kids. So we're probably going to fall into the line like Germany, where we just keep going down. Because Ireland's population never really recovered after the whole potato famine. From 8 to how many million? We're only at 5 again now after 100 and something years, nearly 200 years. So maybe we're slowing down.
I mean, that stuff's really interesting to think about because that falls all into geopolitics. How many real resources does a country have? What resources do they dictate that are like on their borders and having disruption and proxy wars and all that sort of stuff is really interesting, how that plays into population and growth and how people are being educated. Like that whole subject within itself, like the whole geopolitical population growth, like it's fascinating. And I just wish, that I had that third eye to where I could see the future and I could predict things and like see, I want to see how it all unfolds, because humanity, I doubt, will last forever. If it's
hope.
thousands of years or hundreds
Sure.
of thousands of years, like that, our sun's gonna die eventually. So even if we last billions of years, humanity lasts billions of years, the sun is still gonna die. So if we haven't like found another solar system or somewhere else, then that's it. And it's just also interesting because like the blink of an eye that our lives are like, if you live to 100, you're lucky. So if you get a century, you're lucky. So and how technology progresses and how humanity has progressed, like it's just really interesting to think about that. What kind of impact are we leaving on the world, with the small amount of time that we have? all that stuff is really a lot of fun to think about.
Yeah, and everything plays a factor into it too. Some people are influenced by what other people are doing, especially here in America. There was TV programs, 19, 20 kids and counting. People were just popping out kids because it was like, let me see how many I can have, and now this family's under scrutiny. One of those people from that program just got arrested for child pornography, so it's like, what are you really influencing here? you
Hmm.
know so I don't know, man. When you start to peel back the layers, it's kind of interesting to see what everyone's opinion is on that, why the population is or the reproduction rate is coming down, or when it's going up. It's just everybody kind of has their own position on it. They're influenced by different things. I'm not really planning on doing reproduction, I'll tell you that, but that's just my choice.
Yeah.
Deep, deep.
I've
fucking
never
topics,
heard that
lads.
from someone before.
What?
What, like I don't want to have kids. It's not like I've heard it from the occasional person when we were like 16, in TY, or you had that conversation with a bunch of friends and you're drunk or something. But no.
Well, I mean, even my mom said it. Like she's like, what kind of world are you going to leave the children? Like, how many animals have we seen go extinct just in our lifetime? Let alone like the next several decades to come. And also ice ages and warmings, all that is a natural reoccurring thing on the planet. Like the Earth's had like 4 or 5 ice ages or more, and it's going to happen again. So what happens when that happens? And then you got resources running out. You got people warring over oil. You got people, trafficking people. Like there's so much ugly in the world. If you want to focus on that, and of course, like that's never our prime target, but it's good to be aware, and like you really think about circumstances. And when I think about circumstances, I feel pretty blessed, and I just got to be thankful for that, because life is good for me right now. And you got to count your blessings when you got them, because nothing's forever.
Yeah.
No.
I mean,
You gotta be. Well, GG.
we're getting better. Like at this point, realistically, with terms of climate change, not much we can do. We're pretty fucked. But I ain't gonna drown. My house isn't getting, eaten by the waves. When we look at like how we deal with it, the best way you can do it is personal level. If you want to just clean up your local area, you see a bottle of water that was just kind of thrown on the road, pick it up, put it in the bin, blah blah blah. Like when we had Christopher on, it was protect your local area. Like it's local wildlife and the plants or whatever. But then we're having someone on fairly soon to talk about de-extinction and like uh, habitat, I guess, revival, because there's a lot of dead forest in the world. Like Thomas, you know about like quilcher forests. It's really realistically, it's nothing. It's lumber that occasionally has like some kind of wild thing come back to it every now and then. But with like rewilding efforts, they want to take that a step further. Like in Scotland, they want to bring back uh, deer and wolves in Mongolia and Siberia, that kind of area. They're bringing back like these woolly horses that used to like compact the soil and kept the permafrost like down, because I think there's this place called the Mammoth Strait, and because the mammoths are gone, nothing's compacting it. The gases in the permafrost go into the atmosphere, fucks us up. So they want to reintroduce like species that used to be there. If you're familiar with the likes of Pleistocene Park, that'd be one of those things that trying to restore these environments. But not all hope is lost, lads. But you may like have one thing go extinct, but they're trying to fix things here and there.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's
a
it, man.
massive effort.
You got to be proactive. I mean, that's one of the things I questioned Dr. Maria Michael on when she was on our show, because she was very avid about being proactive and doing things now. One of the things I've always questioned about is it too late? I mean, can we turn this thing back the other way? And I still kind of hold that position, but I think being proactive and doing everything we can is the only answer to that.
Christopher brought up, even if we go carbon neutral now and for the next 100 years, we're still fucked.
Yeah.
So
That's my worry, man. That's my
you
worry.
gotta protect what's around you right now, the wildlife around you, because like the plants can recover, but you get rid of the animals, like the animals define the plant life, not the other way around. So you gotta protect them first.
That is true.
That is true, man.
Yeah.
It's all so delicate. Everything is so delicate, man.
It really is.
There's a place for everything.
You throw 8 million hairless chimps into it, like it goes mental.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes completely.
Sucking up everything.
Yeah.
Give me that dino juice.
They're over there on their fancy computers, making podcasts.
You nailed it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a rough one out there, but at least people are more aware of it now.
Sure.
Yeah, no, the beauty, I mean, we always talk about how, internet could be so bad and all these other things, but that's also the beauty of it too. It's like a double-edged sword,
A blessing and a curse, as they say, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there is a lot of pros and cons that come out of it. Like we've said several times on the show now, if we didn't have it, we wouldn't be able to connect with Awfully Irish Podcast, But at the same time, it does open up the door for a lot of scams, manipulation, fake news, you name it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
All right.
it's
I
a
think we should-
beast.
I think we should end on maybe a better note than it's quite depressing, lads. I know it's the real shit now and it's the truth. But
You gotta be real every now and then. We
gotta
can't
be
just
real.
always
Exactly.
have sunshine and rainbows.
No,
That's true.
Absolutely.
Especially after yesterday's episode when we talked to Melissa. Remember she was
I'm gonna
saying
watch
like,
that.
life is almost like the weather. It's not always a sunny day. It's more cloudy than anything else. But just because it's cloudy, it doesn't mean it's going to rain.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna watch that.
Yeah, she's you should have her on. She's pretty interesting. But chat about that after. So on a more positive note, lads, yous are fucking kicking ass with the podcast. Yous are doing bits, lads. But what's next for yous? What's the goal with the guests? What's the goal with the numbers? Are you going to get another studio? Are you going to keep doing what you're doing? What's
Yeah.
going on?
So discussion combustion podcast acronym is DCPC, and we're going to create DCP, which is discussion combustion production. And so what we're going to do is start bringing on people. We already got some things in the works. We're not giving away too much info right now, but we're going to start bringing some people underneath the umbrella and helping them grow and get their message out there.
Yep, that's it, man. Just keeping the foot on the gas, keep mashing that gas, just taking every opportunity we can to stay on this trajectory. A lot like what you guys are doing. You just show up in every week doing, great cast with great people, letting everybody come through the door, everybody's welcome kind of thing. And that's kind of the plan, for phase 4, as we call it over here.
Mm-hmm.
For us, that's going to be leaving our full-time jobs and taking on this production full time.
If you were to do that, lads, and I'm waiting for it. I'm ready for it. I think everyone listening's ready for it. Would that mean you would have to up your not your quantity? You think you have to
Yes.
start posting more? Rather
Yeah,
than
so,
weekly, would you do the Joe Rogan 4 times a week, 3 days a week?
We're
Probably
thinking
3.
2 to 3, 2 to 3. Yeah.
I think 2 to 3, kind of like how
Three's
you
the
guys
sweet
do.
spot. Yeah.
3's the sweet spot. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, maybe something
it.
along those lines.
That's what we
That's probably the target. So
Yeah.
you guys are already there, man. You guys, you're gonna be there with us. We're gonna be having this conversation.
Oh, for sure.
As you're back on our show and we're on yours again. We're headed the same trajectory, guys. I believe that.
We're gonna be
I believe it too.
smoking Cubans, drinking the finest whiskey when we're sitting in our mansions doing our podcast together, lads.
Yeah, that'd be great,
fucking
crack,
love it,
lads.
man.
That'd be great
Tell
fun.
them, Thomas.
Flying jets and helicopters to record with each other.
There we go.
Flying out to discussion combustion, production, just to go see my friends in my own private helicopter,
Maybe one day
Oh,
it'll
it's
just
gonna be
be a
great.
drive down the road. Because realistically, one day this is hopefully all doing well, and the Eldritch gods are sound enough with it that we end up doing it in the States or something, and
Mhm.
we have more access to the guests in real life, and we can do a bit more with it. And then you only drive away.
Oh, I can't wait for that, man. When you
Oh,
guys
yeah.
when you guys land down there in Texas, which is also a potential landing spot for discussion combustion, we're gonna be neighbors, man. I can already see.
Man, if you're no fucking bullshit. If you're trying to build a company right now, get the fuck out of California, get the fuck out of New York, Texas. Everyone's in Texas.
That's right, baby.
sure.
Tejas. I love it.
Yeah. And we're Irish, we fucking know that. It's mental.
Texas is where it's at. You guys got that right.
Absolutely.
And yeah, in terms of guests and content, you're just looking to kind of stay on the same path.
I think so, man. And just kind of taking
Yeah.
every opportunity. I mean, seeing and keeping that mentality. One of the things we said the first show we ever did 2 years ago, whatever, we said that whether you're Joe Rogan or Joe the plumber, we want you on our show.
Yeah.
And I think holding that mentality speaks volume to our mission statement, which we covered earlier, of just taking any and every opportunity for somebody to enlighten us on something. I learn something every week, guys. You know, it doesn't matter what this person does for a living or how much money is in their
Or how
bank
many
account,
followers they
how
have.
many
Yeah.
followers they have. Like
Doesn't
none of that
matter.
matters
Yeah.
to us.
We just want to get to know people, and that's always what we're going to do. We're going to stay humble, you know, because this is bigger than Kevin and I. It's not about us. You know, it's about the people, and we remind ourselves of that weekly. You know, it's a daily talk. You know, we're staying humble, and you know that's how we get to meet people like you, and that's how we get to meet people that are coming in next week. And like, you know, John X was a local Denver podcaster that was on the scene when we were fresh, and we looked up to him, and you know, he opened arms. So we want to do that too. We want to open our arms to anybody in podcasting that might have questions, or you know, what are you doing with it? Like, what do you want to do? Like that's the whole thing, is like this podcasting community, there's a lot of love here, and there's room for everybody, you know, even though there's a shit ton, and they're coming out like hotcakes, there's still room for everybody, is how I feel.
Absolutely.
Fair enough.
But if you're thinking of starting it, start it yesterday. Start it
Yes.
4 years ago, 5 years ago, and you know, make content like the devil's running behind you. Just do it.
Yeah.
It's good advice, man. That's great advice, I think.
Yeah, because man, like, you know, if you don't produce enough content, you're not going to really be found. Because you know the way we find new people is, you know, they put out 4 videos a week, and you clicked
Yeah.
on one because it went semi-viral, and then they hit the YouTube algorithm. You're into similar topics, and boom, now you watch them every day because
it.
they keep bringing more content.
Yeah. And
So,
people
yeah.
start to take a
So
liking to you, just like
writing
we
it once
did.
off. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they get familiar with it because you guys are consistent. They can count on it. You know,
Mhm.
like, you know, before we had an interaction on social and did these podcasts together, man, we became fans of you guys. It was like, man, these guys are crushing it.
Yeah, they're doing
You know,
it.
you
How
see
did
what's
you
going
find
on.
us?
That's a good question. I can't
We
remember.
just kept seeing you
I
pop
think you just
up.
started popping up in
Like,
our.
I think you popped, like when
recommended
we would
videos
look,
or
we would
something.
like look at our video or something, and then you would come up as a recommended video from our video. I believe that's,
It was something similar to that. Like somehow an algorithm developed
yeah.
that led us to you, which was probably one of the coolest things ever, honestly, because I love what you guys do, man. And I just, you know, real fortunate and grateful to be on your guys' program.
Oh yeah, that
First.
goes from both of us, for sure.
The feeling's mutual, lads. It was a fucking honor being on your show, and the numbers did pretty well on that one. I'm very impressed.
Still
They're-
growing,
they're
man.
Still pumping, man. Yeah, you guys are pulling us some views. So
Yeah, well, happy to be going.
That's it.
Right, so that's kind of it. If people want to check you out, guys, where can they find you?
oh man, we're just about everywhere. Art. Where
Mhm.
we at?
You can listen to us basically any audio platform, all the big hitters. You guys already know the ones. And of course, watch us on YouTube. And I know you're already watching Awfully Irish, listening in. If you're just listening in, definitely watch it. You know, and we're everywhere. Awfully Irish is everywhere. It's an awfully good time.
That's it, man. You know, you can find us on all social media platforms. You can see us hanging out with the Awfully Irish boys. We're just doing our thing, man. We'd like to drink a little beer, have a good time.
There you go. So,
Awesome.
link to the YouTube will be provided below. So, check that out. You can also check our own socials and some of our affiliate codes if you're into that kind of stuff. So, take it handy. Good luck. Bye bye. Stay away from yourself.